it is my very great honor to be speaking to all of you at this remarkable monument that so eloquently and so powerfully speaks to the timeless truth of the remarkable relationship that developed between the people of China and the people of the United States during the darkest days of the Second World War.
去年9月12号，习近平主席复信美中航空遗产基金会主席格林和飞虎队老兵莫耶、麦克马伦，高度评价飞虎队远华抗战的历史功绩和两国人民结下的深厚友谊，希望飞虎队精神在两国人民之间一代一代的传承下去。
In 1995, while working as a producer and advisor on a documentary about the Flying Tigers for a military TV channel, Greene was deeply moved by the strong friendship between the Chinese and American peoples. In 1998, together with Flying Tigers veterans, he formally established the Sino-American Aviation Heritage Foundation, which aims to enhance public understanding of this shared history and carry on the spirit of the Flying Tigers. From September 2nd to 3rd, a delegation from the United States, including Jeffrey Greene, chairman of the Sino-American Aviation Heritage Foundation, and family members of Flying Tigers veterans visited Nanjing. Taking part in several exchange activities, they commemorated the history of the Flying Tigers and renewed the China-U.S. friendship. September 3, 2024, marks the 79th anniversary of the victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. On the morning of that day, an exhibition titled A Tribute to Heroes, Flying Tigers Photo Exhibition, opened at the Nanjing Anti-Japanese Aviation Martyrs Memorial Hall as the first stop of the touring exhibition in China. Xie Feng, Chinese ambassador to the United States, delivered a video speech at the exhibition's opening ceremony.
中美两国并肩抗战的飞虎故事，是世界反法西事业的不朽篇章。中美人民经受血与火考验的飞虎情谊，是中美关系的丰富滋养。跨越时空、历久弥新的飞虎队精神，过去、现在、将来，都是我们的宝贵财富。
During the most difficult stage of the Chinese people's war of resistance against Japanese aggression, the American Volunteer Group, with General Claire Lee Chennault as the commander, was established to assist China's battle. The nickname Flying Tigers originated from the shark mouth design and leaping winged tiger emblem of their fighter planes.
因为这个老虎的嘴，然后它还有翅膀，所以说就给它们称为老虎，飞老虎，会飞的老虎，就是这个意思。
During World War II, the Army unit was restructured several times, but the unofficial name Flying Tigers endured. On December 20th, 1941, the Flying Tigers fought against Japanese warplanes attacking Kunming, achieving a decisive victory in their first combat engagement. From then on, their reputation spread far and wide.
首战的当天呢，我们的昆明市民亲眼目睹了这场激战。他们当天晚上呢，就敲锣打鼓，放着鞭炮，然后去到了乌加巴机场慰问飞行员。
当时，飞虎队还有后来的这个中美混合的航空队，主要是保护大后方，一部分是保护云南比较靠近日军前线的这个位置，不受到它的轰炸和侵袭。另外一方面，它就是伴随着美军的运输机和中国航空公司承担物资运输的飞机，伴飞保卫他们飞到这个边境地区，乃至到这个缅甸上空。
Before victory in the war, the Flying Tigers made heroic actions and sacrifices, such as in operating over the Hump, an aerial supply route across the Himalayas, and helping China regain air control over the battlefield. They will be remembered forever by Chinese soldiers and civilians. Chinese and American peoples fought the Japanese fascists together and forged a deep friendship that withstood the test of blood and fire. Margaret Mills Kincannon is the daughter of James Mills, who was a B-25 crew chief in the 14th Air Force. She was still a baby when her father fought against Japanese forces, believing he was fighting for justice.
He did all of that for one reason, because he thought it was the right thing to do. He knew that Japan was doing terrible things around the world, and in China and in Burma, and so he wanted to do whatever he could to stop that and bring the world back to a right position. So regardless of how dangerous it was for him, how difficult it was for him, how difficult it was for him to leave his family.
February 14th, 1945, was the second day of the Lunar New Year in China. It was an unforgettable day for Flying Tigers pilot William Findlay. On that day, while flying a P-38 fighter on a mission over Yunnan, a mechanical failure forced him to make an emergency landing. He brought the plane down in a field near Yongla Village, Jietou Town, north of Tongchong, and awaited rescue.
那么很多那个村民就从那家人就跑来那个飞机旁边就看，说这个是美国人，美国飞机，然后呢，他们就有胆子大一点的，就去把那个飞机的驾驶舱盖打开，然后就把他帮助他就营救下来，然后到家里面就煮鸡蛋给他吃。
With the help of the villagers, William returned to the Flying Tigers. After the war, he went back to the United States, but he always wished to visit China to see the villagers who had saved him. Unfortunately, William passed away in 1989, before he had the chance to return to the land that meant so much to him emotionally.
When he had this emergency landing in this place, it was the first time in his life he was helpless. Made sure he felt safe right away, that he was not in any trouble, offered him food, gave him the best bed in town, guided him back to Tengchong, changed his life.
Such stories were far from rare at the time. Many historical details could be found through images and text at the A Tribute to Heroes Flying Tigers photo exhibition. On April 18, 1942, in retaliation for the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. military, led by James Doolittle, dispatched 16 B-25 bombers to attack Tokyo and 4 other Japanese cities. Due to fuel shortages and other reasons, the crew members had to parachute or make emergency landings in China, where they were rescued by Chinese soldiers and civilians despite dangers. A legendary story of Sino-American World War II friendship was born. Glenn Baneda was a fighter pilot in the U.S. 14th Air Force. On May 6, 1944, his plane was shot down during a mission. He was soon rescued by the new 4th Army. Li Xiannian, who was then commander of the 5th Division of the new 4th Army, visited Baneda multiple times during his recovery and presented him with gifts. After an arduous 2-month journey, the new 4th Army soldiers escorted Baneda safely through hundreds of miles of Japanese-occupied area, helping him reach his squadron in Guilin. According to Chenot's memoir, Way of a Fighter, at least 95% of all American airmen that landed alive behind the Japanese lines were rescued and guided back to their bases by Chinese. There was never any formal underground system for these rescues or any price list of reward. Where we could, we reimbursed the Chinese for their help, but most of them never received a nickel for their aid. These rescues were by far the most convincing demonstration of Chinese goodwill toward Americans.
我们部队团员为抗击日本帝国主义所付出的牺牲和我们为了 掩护或者这个飞虎队队员，这个我们牺牲了我们的同胞，然后这就战斗凝成的一种的友谊，我们在历史书上看过，那今天看到图们长，这再现了他们的历史。我在这今天来看了一下，我感到非常震撼，所以我们感到非常感动，非常的感动。
According to statistics, the Flying Tigers, fighting alongside Chinese soldiers and civilians, downed over 2,600 Japanese military aircraft, sank or damaged 44 warships, and contributed to the demise of more than 60,000 Japanese soldiers. During this period, the Chinese people provided significant assistance and support to the Flying Tigers. This help came not only from ordinary citizens, but also from professionals in various fields, including medics and rescuers. This elderly man is Ko Tak Man, 76 years old. His mother, Rita Wong, had a rather legendary story related to the Flying Tigers. Wong was born in Xinhui, Guangdong. In 1941, when the Japanese Army occupied Kowloon, Hong Kong, Wong was studying at Queen Mary Hospital School of Nursing in Hong Kong, where she personally witnessed many of the atrocities committed by the Japanese invaders.
我母亲就在香港九龙的医院，亲自目睹了日本人的暴行，亲自看见日本人怎么打进香港的医院里边那个烧杀抢掠，是不是强奸女孩妇女？她是亲自照顾过那些被那些日本人强暴过这些女孩子，所以她老年的时候一回忆起这些都是非常的悲痛。
At Queen Mary Hospital School of Nursing, Wong met her classmate, Cynthia Chan, and Cynthia Chan's younger sister, Anna Cheno, who would later become the wife of General Claire Lee Cheno, the commander of the Flying Tigers. From Cynthia Chan, Wong learned that the Flying Tigers, helping China fight against the Japanese fascists inland, were suffering heavy casualties, creating a need for English-speaking nurses. So Wong decided to head inland to help the Flying Tigers. After several twists and turns, she arrived in Kunming and became a nurse for the Flying Tigers.
那个时候是没有什么护工的，最难的全部这些都是护士来做，是不是？全部都是护士来做，所以护士对于这些伤员的感情和医生的都还不一样，因为他们直接就是照顾他们了，洗漱是不是喂饭？这个全身的擦洗全部都是他们在做，所以他们在这个里边是可以说是和美国军人和美国建立了非常良好的一种特殊的真正的战争中的一种友情。
Wong and her colleagues worked side by side to rescue American pilots and ground personnel who had come to China to join the fight, continuing their efforts until victory in the war. Ko Tak Man recalls that in 1999, his mother received a letter from a member of the Flying Tigers named Perry, though the letter had been written half a century earlier.
这个是一个美国军人，他照顾过的一个美国军人，而且这封信里边把他的照片寄给我母亲，而且照片的背后还有最亲爱的丽达，我母亲的名字叫丽达，我非常感谢你对我的照顾。
It was later known that during his treatment at the hospital, Perry, a member of the Flying Tigers, received meticulous care from Wong. After being discharged in 1944, he lost contact with Wong. After several attempts, he managed to have someone deliver the letter he had written to her.
过了几十年，这封信才回到我母亲手上。
你母亲看到这封信的时候，母亲已经多大了？
应该是80多岁了吧？的一种特殊的、真正的战争中的一种友情。
A letter took 55 years to reach its recipient, recording a story of the enduring friendship formed between the Chinese and American peoples during the war. In recent years, the Sino-American Aviation Heritage Foundation and the Flying Tigers veterans have tirelessly ensured more Chinese and Americans know about the stories of the Flying Tigers. More and more young Americans have joined Flying Tigers friendship schools and Youth Leadership Program. Nanjing Jinling High School and high school affiliated to Nanjing Normal University are both Flying Tigers friendship schools.
There's nothing that has a stronger message than what we say the shared American and Chinese legacy of the Flying Tigers. The story of the Flying Tigers is a touchstone. We can always go back to it. We can always find comfort, and we can always talk together.
对于飞虎队这段历史，我们也是有着共同的了解。从过去走来，向未来走去，我们作为青年一代，可以成为友谊的延续者之一。
今天，南京抗日航空烈士纪念馆通过中山陵园管理局官网公开发布2590名美国籍抗日航空英烈名录，面向海内外广泛征集美国籍抗日航空英烈信息及相关文物史料。
Following its first stop in Nanjing, the A Tribute to Heroes Flying Tigers photo exhibition has been presented in various places, including Chongqing in Fujian and Changsha in Hunan, attracting widespread attention both domestically and internationally. In a letter to Jeffrey Greene, U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns congratulated the success of the Chinese Bridge Flying Tigers Summer Camp and the Flying Tigers Friendship Schools program. Supported by the Sino-American Aviation Heritage Foundation. He also expressed gratitude for Greene's long-standing efforts in sharing the history of the Flying Tigers with the world. On September 9th, the ambassador attended the Changsha stop of the photo exhibition.